Thank you. All right. So good morning, Toledo. Good afternoon and good evening to all of you who's watching us on We Goals Global from San Francisco, California platform. So thank you, Toledo, for joining us today. So let me just introduce myself and our team today. So my name is Nina Quadra. I'm originally from Malaysia, but reside here for the past 20 years. Hence, Toledo is home. I am proud founder and managing director for a grassroots organization, Women of Toledo. We are also known as Inclusive for Women Incorporation at national level, and we advocate for women empowerment and diversity. Currently, I am serving as United Nations Women Global Champion for Change, alongside our Global Champion partner team here locally. So let me introduce our team here in Toledo. So we have Avery with United Nations, Brandi, Walerius with Black&White Consulting, Alicia, Wagner with Power Father and Hills Coaching, Cami, which I'm going to butcher your last name, Szirotnyak, Steinem sister, and also we have Kristie Knighten, who is also Inclusive for Women of Toledo, Sabrina, who can't be here with us today, she's with Owens. Erika, wife, she just texted me that she got into an accident, so she's okay. Somebody just bumped into her car. So she represents AT&T and Fitzone by Erika, and we have Radtkin here today with AAUW. So, in addition to this forum, also, I would like to bring up the supporter and sponsor of many of you here in the audience. Hence, I would like to take a moment and recognize each of you and acknowledge your support for this forum platform. If you are here today, when I call your name, please stand up and remain standing, and audience, please hold your applause till the end of the acknowledgement. So we want to say thank you to Avery for helping us with the room today. And then we have B. Hardy with B Blend Specialty Coffee, our hosting and fiduciary organization, Women of Toledo, and their president, Michelle and Sarah. Our global partner today in San Francisco, Rosanna Damas, who is also UN Women Empower Women Global Champion and Diversity RD Global, and her global partner, Marsha Grill with Herokia, Kristie Knighten, KPK Unlimited, Sandy Span, Toledo City Council member and Play 21, Brandi Walerius with Black&White Consulting, Alicia, Wagner, Fall and Powder and Hills Coaching, Debbie Peter with Connect Nation, Lori Cannon, Edward Jones, Pam Wyright with Pam's Corner. We have Natalie Edward today with Maumee Bay Club of NANBPWC. Susie Crawford, Eastern Seal, Veronica Mora, she's not here, and our volunteer partner who's sitting out there, Nyla Weber and Pavia Joma. So thank you for your time, talent, treasure, and influence to help us putting this forum together. The Pandora box. What is UN Women Empower Women Global Champion Initiative? We are all aware what is UN stand for. We know what UN Women mission goal and their advocacy. But what is Empower Women platform? So at the 2011 Ottawa conference, UN delegates called for a dynamic platform to improve the sharing of evidence, experiences, and good practices on women economic empowerment. In response, UN Women and Canada committed to jointly develop an online platform on women economic empowerment. On September 2013, this platform, initially referred to as the Knowledge Gateway on Women Economic Empowerment, was launched during the high-level session of the United Nations General Assembly under Secretary General of the UN and Executive Director of UN Women and Minister of State, Foreign Affairs and Councillor Government of Canada. Since then, Empower Women have grown into a global movement. Here's a short video to talk to you about the platform. gonna go back to Thank you, Emily. So as you can see in the video, we know that worldwide presently empower women as the leading global movement for women economic empowerment, with member organizations and companies from over 190 countries. In your folder, if you want to take a pic, you can see there's a little flyers here about who is our partner for the Empower Movement platform. All right. That's the slide, but to tell you who is your partner. Erika, are you okay?
Yes. Just someone hit my car and sit forever, so I appreciate it. I made it. That's all. Now, let me breathe in all the possibilities. Mom's a business, huh? Thank you.
All right. So as we all know that we have these big partners that really together with Empower Women and some of our global champions working to create a platform here. So just to give you a little bit, if you want to tie one into one, you see that Empower Women is an online platform, but it was a worldwide. So our global champion project similar to that, but it's more grassroots. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So as you see from the video, and also if you know that if you want to make a big impact for a movement at local, global level, the movement and conversation must start at grassroots level, which it should start here at home, in our own city. Do we all agree? Yeah. Therefore, United Nations Women Empower Women appointed global champion for change to become their champion in their community, with an opportunity to work closely with UN Women team to initiate and lead projects to promote women economic empowerment in their city and country. So how will we given Toledo? We're given this opportunity to be a part of this global champion. So, it was a competition, a month-long worldwide online rally, campaigning and advocating for women economic empowerment by participating in several online activities on Empower Women platform and social media. During the rally, I had to contribute extraordinary story and resources and input to various strategies and initiatives around the global issue. For the final project, I was given the opportunity to submit a project proposal for this initiative, that what you like to see at home in Toledo. With the help of Women of Toledo and our global partner today, we submitted a 12 pages long proposal for the Hub initiative in October 2016. The slide shows you some of the other projects that's happening during this rally. 4,000 candidates joined the online rally and submitted project proposal. 170 candidates nominated as Global Champion for Change of United Nations Women. Out of 170 global champions, 12 champion projects belong to the United States. And fortunate enough that the Hub is one of the proposals. So here we are. It's a big accomplishment for the city of Toledo. So there you go. This is the Hub of Greater Toledo. Similar to Empower Women platform, what is the Hub? Okay. A platform that effectively fosters a collaborative environment where we create introduction and offer a collaborative project with other women's groups, women leaders, women mission-driven organizations in our area with a goal to connect Greater Toledo women. We believe that visibility is one of the most powerful tools at educating and empowering the community about all the amazing options that exist in Greater Toledo. In the nutshell, the Hub connects organizations together through an online platform, where we share reliable resources for the growth of women empowerment and compassion about each other. So why we choose to build this platform? So over the years, we have been meeting and connecting with a lot of people from women's group, women leaders, independently, together. We all agree that we are all trying to achieve the same thing: effectiveness at women empowerment, high impact on community, and planning and scheduling women-focused event and program. However, no one is communicating around current events that are happening and the city of our size with 280,000 people population and 52% of it is female. We should be doing more because it's the right thing to do. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is this platform can do for us? It can help organized members of the organization. We can inform us of events and opportunity, share and experience, opinion and stories, participate in our campaign, United Nations campaign, and also start and join a discussion, and also learn about and from each other. So with this platform, it can help women groups learn what others are doing and develop ways to build strength by numbers, address duplication, and achieve more via collaboration network. We seek to provide a connection hub in which individual and group can become more effective in their own right. The end result will be a network of women's organizations in a greater Toledo area to work towards a shared community vision and share resources to create a larger impact. Okay, so let's pick in your folder. We're going to move over here and start talking about what are we really doing. If you can see, there's a little postcard, if I can find a postcard here, with all this information here. So as you know that we have the hub, but what is the hub doing other than just connecting? So we talk about women empowerment, yeah, this little postcard. So the women empowerment principle offers practical guidance to business and the private sector on how to empower women in the workplace, marketplace, and community. Developed through a partnership between UN Women and the United Nations Global Compact, the principles are designed to support companies in reviewing existing policy and practices and establish new ones to realize women empowerment. Implement the principles are establish high-level corporate leadership for gender equality, 2, treat all women and men fairly at work, respect and support human rights and non-discrimination, ensure the health, safety, and well-being of all women and men workers, promote education, training, and professional development for women, implement enterprise development, supply chain, and marketing practices that empower women, promote equality through community initiative and advocacy, measure and public report on progress and achieve gender equality. So those are 7 empowerment principles by United Nations. We believe we cannot just educate women and men on empowerment principles only, but we must find ways to apply these principles so it can coexist with the economic empowerment. Okay. We're going to start using short. We, WEE, Women Economic Empowerment. Okay, we is a capacity to bring about economic change by overcoming poverty, discrimination, and exploitation. Why is this important to us? Why does it important for City of Toledo? And how the hub can help? So without further ado, once again, I am so grateful by all these ladies for their bravery to join UN Global Champion partner here in Toledo. Please help me welcome Alicia, Brandi, Cami, and Erika to this forum discussion platform to continue this discussion. Thank you.
Over already this morning, so I'm going to keep this brief because, quite frankly, haven't we all been to enough meetings where we've been talking? It's time to start doing. So I want to ask, how many of you, as well done as this video was, how many are sick of seeing it? I know I am. And so that story goes back to when it was my 20s when I was starting to enter the workforce, and we were already experiencing some of these issues. And then it was my mid-20s when I got my first big girl job and I got into corporate America, and you could absolutely see the lack of leadership which existed amongst those ranks. And then as I got to my 30s, and then as I'll be 36 this June, I have seen over my 15 years of what I would call robust experience that not much has changed. And so that's why we're here today. And we really want to hit the why of this over the head so that all of us that are within this room, the leadership that's here today, that we are on the same page as to what this means. And so the video with the statistics, while they haven't changed much, the importance and the reason why we're here today is because of something that I've been terming the third movement. And so as I teach the Women in Leadership course at St. Ursula, I'm experienced and exposed to these wonderful young women. The daughters currently and this experience that then exists with women that I've been able to talk with that are in their 60s and even early 70s. And so what breaks my heart still today is that the generation above me is saying the same thing that I've been saying over the last 15 years. And what's really heartbreaking, and I'll try not to cry, is the generation below me, which is my 3-year-old daughter. And so I don't want to have to sit down with her one day and look at her and us have the same conversation that nothing has changed. And so there's two aspects. If we really look at the statistics and what we're seeing up on the screen today, is it relates to unconscious bias, which are social stereotypes that we bring into our world that are unconscious as it relates to people and groups. And it's usually never intentional, but we have to break a lot of those barriers that currently exist. And so that's a big aspect of this. But then we also still currently have the confidence gap as it relates to women. And so we know, and there's Harvard Business Review articles and other articles, one after another, that continue to support that when a man sees a job posting, if he feels he meets 60% of those requirements, he will apply. If a woman sees that same job application and job posting, she need not apply unless she meets 100% of those qualifications. And so those are the two areas that we continue to look at this video, and as we continue to look at the principles that exist through we that we continue to need to tackle, those are the two areas that we feel within our community as it relates to corporate leadership and as it relates to education and training that we need to tackle today. But the third movement and the why, before we really jump into this discussion that we wanted to, again, make sure that we're all on the same page with you, is that the time is now. And the time is now because we have the women's movement and the right to vote, which we're coming up on 100 years here in 2020. I know, right? And then our women's movement that existed not too terribly long ago as it related through the 60s and 70s, and it was women really feeling that they were able to finally step into their body, their mind, and their potential. And so I currently feel, and it's again through that younger experience with my girls in high school and the women that I've just been so privileged and blessed to have as part of my life and networking and as clients, that this third movement is coming up because the baby boomers are currently exiting the workforce in droves. And the next generation below them, there's close to 80 million of them, and there's only 50 million Generation X. And so that means there's going to be a substantial talent gap that is going to exist. And so the time is now, because for the third movement, what we have upon us is women being able to have the right to their potential within leadership. And so if we do not grab this third movement as it relates to women improving these numbers, then it is scary to think about what does exist for my daughter, yours, and the women in your life. And so that's why we really wanted to take the opportunity to outline today the impact and the possibility that exists within this group and this movement, and being able to truly tackle these principles and find for each and every one of us in here our place within the third movement. So Brandi, I'm going to hand it over to you, sister.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're going to talk about some of these principles and how they relate to women's economic empowerment. The first thing that I think is important, though, is that we're all on the same page when we talk about women's economic empowerment. So what is it? It's the capacity to bring economic change, to be able to make informed choices, and to have those choices lead to action, and desired outcome. Above all, women economic empowerment means to provide tools and opportunities for economic success for women. Nina talked about those 7 principles, and we chose 2 of those principles to talk about today. The reason why we chose 2 is 1, we think that they deserve concentrated attention, and 2, we only have the room until 10 o'clock. So, we chose these 2 because the most logical way to turn oppression into opportunity is education. We agree with that? Okay. So the one that we chose that we're going to talk about first is promote education, training, and professional development for women. And I'm going to say it again because I think it's important enough. The reason that we chose this particular principle to start this conversation is because the most logical way to turn oppression into opportunity is through education. Kim, a leader of the World Bank, says the highest return of investment in a developing world could just be to give a girl an education. Research proves that this very well could be true. When you educate a girl, she tends to get married later in life, tends to have kids later in life, tends to have fewer kids, and the most important part, the kids that she has, she educates in a more enlightened fashion, which starts the cycle of the importance of education. About 10 years ago, I'm dating myself, but I served as a director of an adult career and technology center. And we received some of our funding through Lucas County Jobs and Family Services. And I know we have a representative here, so thank you for that funding. And that is the location that I met Nadia. Nadia was 21 years old. She came to the Career Center through funds through Lucas County Jobs and Family Services to receive training. Okay. Nadia came the very first day with her 5-year-old in tow, just left an abusive relationship, and had big dreams. She was going to become a registered nurse. Nadia did not graduate high school because she dropped out when she got pregnant. While she was at our center, she got her GED, and she attended a 75-hour STNA, state-tested nursing assistant program. Through successful completion of this program, she got a job in a nursing home, and a year after being employed at the nursing home, her employer paid for her to attend Owens Community College to get her nursing degree. Nadia today is a nurse and is financially secure. If you were to ask Nadia, who was broken the day she arrived at the Career Center, what was the biggest factor that changed her life, she would promptly answer the opportunity for education and training. So, she's right. Education and skill development is one of the most important and sustainable interventions needed to effectively assist women in restoring their lives and positively influence young girls. Education, training, and professional development, one of the principles from the United Nations, will ultimately assist women to not only develop their own skills and enable them to make sound decisions, but it will also have significant positive impact on all of the areas of their life, including employment, health, housing, social and political participation, and physical security. Let's face it, empowered women are better able to break out of poverty and exercise a greater voice. So that is why we picked that particular principle, because it is so powerful and it does make logical sense. The other principle that we chose is to establish high-level corporate leadership for gender equality principles. Before we talk about this, can we just admit how lucky we are? Lucky that we are not living the world our mothers and our grandmothers lived in, where career choices and even educational choices were limited. Opportunities for employment and education are much more available for us and to us, as I'm sure the majority of us in this room have taken advantage of with hard work and dedication. However, with that being said, as a general but true statement, women are still not making it to the top of any position anywhere in this country, and microscoping in to Toledo, Ohio. In our country, only 15 to 16% of women possess C-level jobs. Even in the nonprofit world, a world we believe to be led by women, only 20% are directors. With that being said, I do think we need to call out that we are glad and honored to see that we may have some of these women represented in this room today, which says a lot. As Alicia mentioned, why does this happen? One is the confidence gap. As a human resource professional, I see it often. And as a friend who gets a lot of phone calls about career advice, I hear it even more. Brilliantly qualified women asking if they should apply for a position, even though they don't meet all the qualifications. We, women, don't negotiate salary. A measly 7% of women negotiate their first salary. Let that sit in for a second. Because as we know, where we start determines those pay ranges as we find new employment. So if we're leaving money on the table the first time, money continues to be left on the table. And also, while men oftentimes attribute their success to themselves, women will oftentimes attribute it to external factors. You tell a woman that she did a good job, most of the time her reply is, oh, I had a great team. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. Or, oh, I meet so many men. He did a great job. He says, I know. Man, I just hit it right out of the park. Why do these things matter, though, right? They matter because no one is getting to that corner suite sitting on the sideline. No one is claiming top positions without believing that they deserve the success. We need to celebrate the women before us who didn't sit on the sidelines, who kept their hands up until they got called upon, and believed wholeheartedly that they deserved to be successful. We need to be these women, and we need to raise these women. Only by doing so can we improve gender equality and fully contribute to the inclusive economic growth that we are capable of. So the most important segment is how. How does this new initiative, the Hub, a Champion for Change project through the United Nations, tackle the two principles that we talked about today? Establish high-level corporate leadership for gender equality and promote education, training, and professional development for women to positively impact gender equality, removal of poverty, and inclusive economic growth in Toledo and its surrounding communities. And for that, we have Cami and Erika, Alicia, and myself to kind of talk about that. I will tell you, we have this strategy of the roundtable discussion, so you just don't see one person talking, to hopefully encourage you to want to join the conversation, because we're not the only ones with the solutions and the ideas of how the hub can work in our community.
And then Erika, we didn't get you introduced.
Yes.
My name is Erika D. White. I work for AT&T as outside plant engineer. I'm like Tommy, so if anybody gets to watch Martin or some friends, there's also a Tommy in there. I feel like nobody really knows what I do. So I'm finding that out. What do you do? I'm actually an outside plant engineer with AT&T, and I was elected to the vice president of my union. I was in fact the first female and African American to hold that position. Very proud I've had someone that mentored me to get there. So I negotiate contracts, represent the benefits side as far as women and males getting their benefits and being, because you can't grieve your benefits if you're laid off of work and you can't get your health care or you're put on disability. That's something I work very hard on. The other thing is I represent women for the state of Ohio with my union. I do that also. Work with the NAACP, so I wear a lot of different hats. And my final job is actually my hobby, and my daughter, and I would say, I have to go to work. She's like, you're going to hobby. You're not going to work. Your job is my passion, which is health and wellness. So I do a lot in the community. I'm not just teaching in a gym, but actually coming out and touching people in the community. And having, no matter what we were talking about with confidence, or your income level, or how you're feeling, or your age, and let you know that there's an idea in ideal fitness. So I do Fitzone by Erika, and that's my big thing that I hope to retire and do within the next 5 years. I started very young at AT&T. I was 19. We have 30 and out, and one of the things when you're talking about 7% of women negotiating their wages, when I started, it's a union job. So with the union job, one of the things that you have is one of the few places where there is pay equality until you get out of the union environment. So even working for AT&T, let me say this, is that as far as union worker, you know where you are, you know what your raises are. Everyone is equal. And so for me sitting here on this board is to say that as someone that is protected or has union rights, is what was instilled in me is that how do we take those rights and give them to everyone else? When you're, as Larry say, if you're in a building and I'm fine and I'm doing great economically and I'm doing fine because I'm a member of union, then that means, and I know all around me that other women aren't, then that means that I've got to step outside of my comfort zone and help everyone else and be that community leadership or that community engagement. So that's one of the things I totally believe in, is going out and connecting with women where I could just sit there and make my great $40 an hour, which is sad, but it's more than my sister makes with a master's degree, as someone that represents baby court and representing children, making sure that they're transitioned back to their parents. She should be making that. And so seeing that and knowing that I make that, you know, there's a big issue here with that. And so to lead into this, one of the most important things is mentorship. And that's something I teach my daughter. Mentorship is free. People don't want to give it. Because you know why? Their egos get in the way. Because if I help Alicia now if I come over to Father, you know I'm going to be a hookup girl. Right? This is what, instead of me saying, hey, I love your business. I just learned about that because you had a meeting there. I can't wait to come and try that. Tell me about what you have. That's the way we encourage each other's women. And to go back to HBCUs, one of the reasons why I bring this up, because I know it's probably, they were like, oh, historically black colleges. That is so great that black people did that. And you're like, it's the same thing we have to think about as ourselves as women. They were set up because we knocked, we rang the bell, you made the phone call, and nobody came to the door. In fact, they're peeking at you out like, oh, they're back again. And so you have to learn sometimes that when you can't get in, you make a way. So instead of asking for a seat at the table, sometimes you have to build the damn table. And then once we get to that table, it's not enough to turn to someone else and say, you got to pay your dues. Don't ever, if you say that, I promise I'll punch you in the shoulder. I think that's one of the things we do to each other as women, also to put you down when you don't apply for a job to have 60%, where you have 60% of skills because you already feel I haven't paid my dues, I haven't did enough. Yes, you have. And if you think that that woman hasn't, then you mentor her. If you see her name on that job application and you know that she has the potential to fill that position, and you have the power to speak, and this is another, I'm always on people, you have the power to speak, you have the power of influence, and use your influence because everybody else is doing it for their friends. That's true. Here's someone I think is qualified as a female in this position to be the first female to take this on. We have to not only mentor, we have to speak up. And one of the other things I would like to add, to pull you guys in this conversation, is we're always a woman and. And the reason why I say that is that when we talk about, I love when Brandi talked about you want to be where your grandparents were. No, because I didn't want to be a maid. I don't want to be walking. When I look back at what my mother did and what my grandparents did, for me being an African American female, and I'm sure, and it doesn't change because when Alicia shared her story with my daughter, our stories were pretty similar, and she's a European American. Okay, so when we look at that, our stories aren't always that far apart. The problem is we're not communicating and bridging and saying, how was your relationship with your parents or you growing up as, you know, a white female, as me being a black female? And we'll find out we're pretty much the same. We're culturally different. So when I say you're a woman and, so you're a woman and you're black. Oh, you're a woman and, you know, you're Middle Eastern or you may be Islamic. You're a woman and your breasts are too big. That would be so distracting here. You know, you're a woman and you're too tall. You're a woman. We're always a woman and that is something that I see. And I came the other day, I was somewhere and I was talking, I said, I connected with a male and I said, oh great, we're going to have this, I'm going to be able to use him as a mentor to get some more information, learn, and it turned really weird. You ever have those weird conversations? You think that it's going this way and you're like, excuse me, did you miss this? I mean, are you going to help me or not? That's what I want to know. Because you're a woman and you're too pretty, you're a woman and your hair is this way, you're a woman and you have, or your earrings are too big, your earrings are too colorful, that necklace is strapped, and your hair is too curly, you're too pretty, you're always a woman and we've got to start saying, no, I'm just a woman. And I'm here to represent what I do well and how God created me, because none of us raised our hand to be a race. None of us raised our hand to be a gender. We were created and put here no matter what your beliefs are. And therefore, your job or your purpose of being in this world is to help others. But we can't get there if we're not educated, because without education, we're in poverty. Without poverty, our minds can't even begin to develop the power of the purpose and the power we have within us.
Erika, that was amazing. But I wanted to infuse some more statistics too.
Yeah.
When
this is Cami.
Cami, yes. We've met.
I missed that part, right?
Would love to be here and
Thank you, I appreciate it.
When I introduce myself in certain circles, I say I am a feminist, I am a policy entrepreneur, and I'm a quality improvement practitioner. And sometimes I get that look from women. And you can probably tell which part of that introduction I get that look. And so part of what I think the learning and the mentoring and just having these conversations is talking about the uncomfortable things too. And that is acknowledging, you know, we've got statistics that tell us, what was the statistic? It was women earn 20% less. White women earn 20% less. We earn 77, 78 cents to the dollar. But does anyone know the statistic for black women? 65-ish, 68. What about Latinas? 54. We went to the same thing.
I was like, wow, they practiced that.
Yeah. So I think that when I think about locally, I think we're in an area where some of us are very sensitive to wanting to acknowledge that we're woman and we're woman and that might also be inclusive of your sexual identity and how we prefer to be spoken to. And so I want to transition a little bit to talking about Toledo. So Carrie, you can't answer this question because we already talked about this, but does anybody know, and you can't either, does anyone know the statistic of the number of women-owned firms in Lucas County? Just throw a number out there. 20%, if you look at, you don't have to pull this out, but I'll just show it to you. In your folder, this is a UN Women thing, and it says women-owned businesses are 25% of all formal businesses, 28% of all businesses World Bank. In this area, this will shock you, 40%, it's like 39 and change, so we'll round up to 40% of the businesses, the firms owned by people in this area are owned by women. We are already a hub of equality, and we're just not talking about that. We have a lot of great resources in this community, and this is our opportunity to pull those resources together so that we can acknowledge our differences and empower each other. So it's not, we're not at a level playing field. Within women, we are not at a level playing field. So we want to shift and help each other to get to a place where we can economically empower each other as the spending power in this area. Amina gave the statistic that 52% of people in Toledo are women. So we're already running this place. We just are talking about it, right?
And women hold 80% of all purchasing power in decisions, so we don't just vote, right? We vote with our dollars and have such a huge potential for impact there as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, we talk a lot about equality. I think we all in this room can really get wrapped around equality and where our opportunities within Toledo stand there, right? But what about poverty? And what about economic growth? And you brought that up to a certain extent with our wonderful city already being compromised with a much higher percentage there. But what does that really mean for Toledo, and what does it mean for everyone in this room? And so I think that's something that if we can get wrapped around and really understand together what that means and is, that's something as part of the hub that we can really, you'll hear me say this, my friends, and for those of you I know in the room, let's do something, right? Like, let's do something. So I don't want to go into any more meetings. I want to be a part of action and task. And I think for those of you in the room, that's what you want too, right? So let's talk about doing something. So for those on the panel, as it relates to poverty and economic growth, and as it relates to the bodies that are in this room in the hub, how do we feel that we can move forward in that space?
I totally agree with Brandi. It starts with education. And one of the things that you look at when you're talking about equality, I would say equity. And equality is important, but you can't have equality if you don't already have equity. And what it means is that if we have Alicia and I both have a pie, and the pie is split, and I have one slice, and she has 4 slices, and they say, well, we're going to come and make you guys equal, so I'm going to give Erika 2 slices and Alicia 2 slices. That goes right back to what Cami says. We're not equal. We're still not equal. She has to give me some of her pie. We've got to do this together and build, especially in Toledo. We've got to make sure that it's happening as equity first, make sure everybody's starting out the same so we can build equality. The reason why we're not building equality in the city of Toledo, even though we have all these women doing great things and we're in this room, we're building synergy because we don't already have the equity that it takes to be there. And when you think about that, 40% of the businesses here are owned by women. We need more women that taking that. There's junior achievement, that even if you're not part of that, but looking at that philosophy, that how do we get into the schools? How do we go into a school and say, hey, we're here to teach young women how to be entrepreneurs? And I know that's the class you do, and you probably could talk about that my daughter goes to. And the other thing is to say and to teach girls that where I teach my daughter, and I always tell moms to do this, I told my daughter that I can support her in anything she does if it's right. I'm not supporting that she wanted to get gauges. I'm not supporting that. I told her, that's all I'm not for, but I can support you in most of your decisions if they're right, but I cannot mentor you. And I have no ego to tell my daughter that. A lot of times as moms, we don't want to do that. I cannot mentor my daughter who wants to be a doctor because I am not a doctor. And also, even if I was, I have to teach my daughter that she has to look for empowerment and education through other women. Yeah. That's how we started at a young age, in teaching women that I can look outside of this little circle of my parents or my teacher and that, and look to other women and say, what do you have that I can learn from you and build with you? And that's where that confidence comes from. And that's how we get women that already are doing it to get back and be involved in the education system, teach girls to become women who are entrepreneurs that can set the stage now that when women come to apply for jobs with them at their table, you're getting paid equal to what the men do, and you don't have to compromise your deal because I've already got it written out for you what you deserve to be paid. How about that?
So I'm going to start making lists of membership empowerment, and then we've got this 40 to 50% of businesses. So like Brandi and Cami, I know when we meet for this group specifically, we will only meet at a female-ran business. And so that's something as well that when we're sitting here talking about the city that has 40 to 50, and even somebody myself that's, you know, I've thought about it, I go to Pam's a lot, Pam Myrock, Pam's Wagner, right? Ballas, I'm getting ready, you know, she's the only female car dealership in the area, so that's where I'm buying my car, but we don't talk about a lot of this stuff in a larger scope as to how can we really, right, if we're going to establish high-level corporate leadership for gender equality, what does that equate to? And so I know that's something that both of you are passionate about. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Right. Well, it is our goal, like Alicia said, that where we spend our time and money, it's going to be at a woman-owned place. That's where I spend my time and money. I think that's the most critical aspect. It's one form of empowerment. And another form of empowerment, too, is having these conversations. So I want to tie it back a little bit to this concept of what the hub is, and then we'll start to wrap this up because we know that we've got a time limit of 10 o'clock. Yeah, she is. Nina's getting a little nervous over here.
But you know what happens when you get in a room full of leaders? They're all here to empower you. Go ahead,
yeah. Well, just briefly, when you think about what you need in your life, if you are a leader, if you are a volunteer, if you're looking to gain confidence because you want to sit in the boardroom, either as a board member or as sitting at the table as the board. It's having these conversations in a very efficient way. So what we're talking about is developing an online platform for those conversations. And Nina gave some information on the screens about what that is. And additionally, it is the ability to see what we're all doing. Because I think, like I said, we've got all these women-owned businesses. But do you know, unless somebody can help me, I cannot find where all these businesses are. There's no list for that. We have over 3,000 organizations, nonprofits in this area.
More than Chicago.
More than Chicago. Wow. And so what, half of them are, more than half of them are women serving? Yeah. Are we all doing the same thing? So we want to have these conversations of how we can share information, share resources in such a way that it will empower you, empower your businesses, as well as expose you to these nonprofits and organizations where you might have a fit. Like you might be able to be on their board. They might be looking for you and they just don't know where to find you. In my case, if I put on my Steinem Sisters hat, I'm looking for people to be a part of Steinem Sisters. So where can I find you? And also, yeah, thank you. And businesses, I want to know where I can find you because I want to support women-owned businesses and I want to know what you have on your calendar so we can either do it together or I'm not trying to be on your turf while you're trying to do something and then we're dividing again, right? Okay, so we can have these conversations.
Can I make a comment? Only because I'm a huge advocate that isn't there also an opportunity for us to infiltrate those boards that are predominantly men,
absolutely,
or those businesses owned by men that are practicing gender equality. I get what you're saying as far as, but, and again, I'm a huge advocate. I'm trying to break that ceiling. I've just been assigned in the last year, I am the VP of Administration for the local Boy Scout board. I am, you know, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that is constantly pushing our local Boy Scout council that they need to have more women. They have women leaders at the Cub Scout and Boy Scout level, and men are increasingly going to be, hopefully, reporting to women in the workplace. And so it is important for that to be reflected on their board. And they are getting it, and they are working towards that and striving towards that. So that would be my challenge also, not just to look for those opportunities of women-led businesses and women-led boards or charitable organizations, but how can we also be better advocates as women where women typically are not seen or not acknowledged and recognized.
That's a really critical point, Jenny.
To me, would be my challenge to all of us sitting around this table as leaders in the community is not just focus on the women's side of it, but how can we be better advocates
Within our own workplace.
Within our own workplace and that own world.
And that's the stereotype, right? That's why you get the look when you bring up
Yeah.
feminism.
One of the reasons why I
we're not. and we need to address that. And that's why I think during the third movement that this is going to be so critical, which is to your point, that this cannot just be a women's movement.
Right.
It can't. And there are so many men who actually do advocate and support, and we need to include them in this or it's not going to work. But unconscious bias doesn't just exist with men.
That's right.
Oh,
It exists
That's
within
right.
ourselves, and so there's going to be a really
Sometimes
big bridge
Yes.
to your point that also needs to be gapped
Yeah.
within that platform as well.
Just to add to really quick, out of the 170 global champions for United Nations, 42 of the global champions is men. So it's only 50 plus, like, you know, the rest of it is women. So out of 170, they already have a global champion that is men that's stepping up from a developing country and whatnot to try to cover women economic empowerment and just empowering women in general. I think our point is, you know, like Jenny was saying, just how are we going to have access to that information? I think that's what the hub is all about, is getting that information to the platform so we all can be plugged in. Of course, we want advocacy and things like that. So if we have that kind of information and we be able to plug in on the hub platform, that will give some of us an opportunity to step it up and break that glass ceiling. So I think we are moving forward.
And I think a really important fact that we want to make sure everybody realizes, we're not trying to be a networking group. We're not trying to have another women-focused group for you to be involved with. That's not the intent of the hub. The hub is to connect already existing initiatives and projects and community organizations together. So I just wanted to make sure that no one walked away thinking that this is just going to be another women-focused group. We want to make sure we're connecting what's already happening in our community, because we have amazing things happening. We just have to make sure everyone's aware of it. So we want to be the platform to make sure everyone's aware of all the incredible and amazing things that you guys in this room are already doing.
Great point.
Yeah.
And just another point to the one that you made, Jenny, is that once we have the information, once we can see one another, then we can gather, and then you're not the only one. Imagine how much more empowered you will feel and how much greater of an impact you will make when we're standing behind you and we know the fight that you're fighting also. So strength in numbers is another thing.
We're talking about education, which I don't just believe is higher education. I mean, it could be workplace mentoring, whatever. But what I love about this area, and I think I'll go Northwest Ohio, the University of Toledo's president is a woman, Dr. Maisie at BG, Dr. Lillian Schumacher at Tiffin, Lord's
University.
I forget her name. Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's amazing.
Yes.
And I always get the look because, oh, you're part of that women thing. And I do work in a male-dominated industry, being in engineering. However, the firm I work for, 40% of the employees are women, and one of the owners out of the 5 is a woman, which was one of the reasons why I chose to work there, because that's unheard of. And I've spent my entire career in engineering, and it is completely unheard of. But, I mean, I would love to see them at some of these events and see how they can get engaged and talk. I know that Dr. Schumacher I saw a live feed on Facebook. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. But she had a program that was about women in leadership, maybe?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Brandi is a alum of Tipton, and you've taught there as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I presented at the Women's in Leadership at the university. It's a yearly thing.
Yeah, and I thought I caught a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was like, that's awesome. I wish I would have known. I mean, I wasn't not a dragon, but I would totally have gone to something like that. But I think that that's unique that they're pulling those types of things together. And UT and BG combine forces,
and
right?
that's the type of thing that we would want to promote on the hub, so the people in this room would hear and make an educated decision if that's something they would want.
Yeah, but when you talk about influencers,
yes.
and we have those people in this area, that would be great to utilize and get their support in their.
You just did the perfect segue.
Thank you.
Because we have this room until 10. We could certainly talk forever. We want to hear more from you as well. So we want to invite you to our next forum where we want to start fleshing out more of the action items while we're in this development phase of creating the hub for Greater Toledo. So I've got a few things for you. May 11th, we're going to continue this conversation. That's our next forum. And I'd love for you to join us, to invite these influencers, and any other woman that you think needs to be part of this conversation. We also want to pass around these surveys so we can learn a little bit more about what your expectations are. And in your packet as well, you have probably the cutest invitation that you've ever seen for a high tea. It's a tea bag. And this will be a fundraising opportunity for us for the development of the hub. It's an intergenerational high tea. So bring your grandma, bring your grandkids, bring your kids, bring your girlfriend.
Wear a cute hat.
Wear a cute hat. Yes. And so just a quick recap. We talked about mentorship, we talked about empowerment, we talked about including a component that allows us to not just recognize women, but to recognize male-dominated, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, organizations that are wanting to raise the level of equity so that we can have a chance at equality. And we talked a lot about stats too. And we gave you a little bit of an introduction to the hub. So we thank you for your time today. Some of you may have taken off work or needed some time to come here.
Or have a hard time getting out the door.
Or have a hard time getting here. Thank you. So anyway, thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We really appreciate all of you.